Life million years ago, flee or die. In the vast, untamed cradle of Earth, where the sun rose like a fiery sentinel over jagged horizons, life was a relentless dance between survival and oblivion. A million years ago, the world was a symphony of raw power, towering ferns swaying in humid winds, volcanoes belching ash into the sky, and rivers carving paths through primordial forests. It was an era where every breath was a victory, every shadow a potential predator. In this unforgiving theater, two souls, bound by instinct, love, and desperation, faced the ultimate decree: flee or die. Her name was Lyra, though names were whispers of a future yet unborn. She was a young hominid, her lithe frame etched with the scars of a harsh existence. Her fur was matted with the mud of riverbanks, her eyes sharp as obsidian flakes, reflecting the wisdom of ancestors who had clawed their way through eons. Lyra belonged to a small clan of wanderers, descendants of those who first dared to walk upright on the African savannas. They were not rulers of the land, they were its fragile guests, scavenging for berries, roots, and the occasional carcass left by mightier beasts. Beside her was Kale, her mate, broader and stronger, with hands calloused from crafting crude tools from stone and bone. Their bond was forged in the fires of necessity, a quiet understanding that in this world, solitude meant death. Together, they had birthed a child, a tiny bundle named Mira, whose wide eyes held the innocence of a dawn yet to break. Mira was their hope, a fragile spark in the endless night of extinction threats. The clan numbered only a dozen, led by the elder, Grum, whose wrinkled skin told tales of floods, famines, and the thunderous roars of saber-toothed cats. They migrated with the seasons, following herds of massive herbivores across grasslands that stretched like green oceans. But lately, the world had grown restless. Earthquakes rattled the ground, splitting it open like overripe fruit. The air thickened with sulfurous fumes from distant eruptions. And worst of all, the predators grew bolder. It began with whispers in the wind, rumors carried by birdsong and the distant howls of hyenas. A shadow had descended upon the land, a colossal tyrannosaurid, a relic from an even older age, somehow surviving in the hidden valleys. The beast was called Vorik by the clan, a name grunted in fear around flickering campfires. Vorik was no ordinary hunter, it was a force of nature, its scales armored like volcanic rock, its jaws a maw of death that could crush bone and spirit alike. Legends spoke of it devouring entire herds, leaving trails of blood that stained the earth for days. One fateful dawn, as the clan foraged near a lush watering hole, the ground trembled. Lyra froze, her spear, fashioned from a sharpened branch, clutched tightly. Mira clung to her back, tiny fingers digging into her fur. Kale scanned the horizon, his heart pounding like the drums of an approaching storm. The air grew heavy, laced with the metallic tang of fear. Then it came. Vorik burst from the treeline, a behemoth of muscle and fury, its roar shattering the morning calm. The clan scattered like leaves in a gale. Grum, the elder, turned to face it, his frail body armed only with defiance. Flee, he bellowed, waving his arms to draw the monster's attention. But Vorik's eyes, glowing like embers, fixed on the slowest among them, an injured clansman named Tor. Tor stumbled, his leg twisted from a recent fall. Lyra watched in horror as Vorik lunged, its massive foot pinning Tor to the ground. The scream that followed was a dagger to her soul, echoing the fragility of their existence. Blood sprayed across the grass, painting a gruesome mural of life's brutality. Kale grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her away. Run, for Mira. They fled, hearts ablaze with grief and terror. The clan, what remained of it, regrouped in a dense thicket miles away. Only 8 survived. Grum was gone, his sacrifice buying them precious moments. As night fell, they huddled around a small fire, the flames casting long shadows that danced like mocking spirits. Lyra cradled Mira, humming a wordless lullaby passed down through generations, a melody of endurance. We cannot stay, Kale whispered, his voice rough as gravel. Vorik will follow the scent of blood. The mountains to the north, they call to us. Lyra nodded, her eyes glistening. The mountains were a myth, a promised land of cool streams and abundant game, free from the lowland terrors. But the journey was perilous. Treacherous rivers, packs of wolves, and the ever-present threat of starvation. Yet, what choice did they have? Flee or die, the ancient mantra etched into their very bones. At first light, they set out, a ragged procession under a sky bruised with storm clouds. Lyra carried Mira, her small weight a reminder of why they pressed on. Kale led, his spear at the ready, scouting for dangers. The land unfolded before them like a living tapestry, vast plains dotted with acacia trees, where giraffes stretched their necks like sentinels, and elephants trumpeted warnings. Days blurred into a haze of exhaustion. They crossed a swollen river, the waters churning with crocodiles. One clansman, Alara, was swept away, her cries swallowed by the foam. Lyra's arms ached from holding Mira aloft, but she refused to falter. "We are the fire that burns through the dark," she murmured to her child, drawing strength from the words Grum had once spoken. As they ascended into foothills, the air grew crisp, laced with the scent of pine. But Vorik's shadow lingered, tracks appeared, massive footprints that crushed the earth like divine judgments. The beast was hunting them, driven by an insatiable hunger that knew no mercy. One evening, as the clan rested in a cave, a storm raged outside. Lightning illuminated the world in stark flashes, revealing the horrors beyond. Kale stood guard at the entrance, his silhouette a bastion against the night. Lyra approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "What if we don't make it?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kale turned, his eyes fierce yet tender. "Then we fight. For her. For all who came before us." He pulled her close, their warmth a fleeting sanctuary in the cold. But fate is a cruel weaver. That night, Vorik found them. The roar echoed through the cave like thunder, shaking pebbles from the ceiling. Panic erupted. The clan grabbed weapons, stones, branches, anything to defy the inevitable. Kale charged out first, spear thrusting at the beast's underbelly. Vorik swatted him aside like an insect, his body slamming against rock with a sickening crack. Lyra's world shattered. "Kale," she screamed, rushing to his side. Blood trickled from his lips, but his eyes locked on hers. "Flee, take Mira, live." Tears blurred her vision as she hoisted Mira onto her back and ran, the remaining clan following in a desperate sprint. Vorik pursued, its footsteps earthquakes that threatened to bury them. They darted through a narrow ravine, the walls closing in like jaws. Lyra's lungs burned, her legs screamed in protest, but she pushed on, fueled by a mother's unyielding love. In the chaos, another clansman fell, his sacrifice buying them time. The group emerged onto a plateau, the mountains looming ahead like ancient guardians. But Vorik was relentless, closing the gap with terrifying speed. Lyra glanced back, her heart a storm of rage and sorrow. "No more," she growled. Spotting a precarious boulder atop the ravine, she signaled to the others. Together, they heaved against it, muscles straining, wills unbreakable. With a groan that rivaled Vorik's roar, the boulder tumbled, triggering a landslide. Rocks cascaded like a vengeful torrent, burying the path behind them. Vorik's bellow turned to a muffled rumble as debris entombed it. Whether the beast lived or died, they didn't wait to see. They fled onward, into the embrace of the mountains. Weeks later, the survivors, now only 5, reached the summit. Below stretched a verdant valley, teeming with life, herds grazing peacefully, rivers sparkling like veins of silver. Lyra stood at the edge, wind whipping her hair, Mira giggling at the sight. They built a new home there, in the shadow of peaks that touched the stars. Lyra taught Mira the ways of their people, the art of fire, the craft of tools, the stories of those lost. Kale's spirit lingered in every sunrise, a reminder that love endures beyond flesh. 1,000,000 years ago, life was flee or die. But in that crucible, something profound was forged, resilience, the seed of humanity. Lyra's descendants would one day walk the earth as conquerors, their blood carrying the echo of that epic struggle. For in the heart of every survivor beats the rhythm of eternity, a powerful testament that even in the face of annihilation, hope flees not, but soars.